Hi everybody, my name is Kara, and I'm 20 years old. Raise your hands if you like to play computer games. Oh, so many of you. I'm not gonna lie, I used to like them as well. Above all, I like the Among Us game. You know, the one where you and your friends find yourselves on a spaceship and need to find a traitor. But today, I want to tell the story of how this game changed my life. Subscribe to the channel and watch until the end. You will definitely be surprised by what I'm about to tell you. About a year ago, I found out about this game, Among Us. I was in my final year of college back then. I played it every day after school. Since none of my friends were fans of the cute astronauts, I played with some users I didn't know. That's how I met Troy. He was a very cool player. We got along great and agreed to meet in real life. Troy turned out to be a very interesting and confident guy. He knew a lot about these games, especially about Among Us. We chatted about different things, and it was so easy to talk with him. I didn't even notice the evening go by, and we agreed to meet again. Since then, we began spending a lot of time together. During the day, we played and chatted in the game. And in the evening, we walked around the city. Little by little, we grew very close. After a while, we started dating. Troy told me that his relationship with his parents wasn't great. They were very violent people, and he had to run away from home several times. So it was not surprising that he moved in with me pretty soon. My mom and dad didn't mind. A few months later, I graduated from college and finally got my degree. I quickly found a job and rented an apartment. Troy, of course, moved in with me. We began to live independently, without our parents. I spent my days working while Troy slept, and in the evenings, we would play Among Us. However, over time, I began to notice that the game no longer interested me as much. I wanted to build a career, earn money, grow as a specialist. Yes, I'd grown up. The same could not be said for Troy. He spent all his time playing games. He also regularly asked me for money to upgrade his character. It really made me think. How long was he going to keep playing that game? When would he come to his senses? I was the only one earning money. We needed more and more. And then came the day when the money I earned was not enough. My boyfriend reached into our piggy bank to get some money for his game, but it was empty. He was surprised and asked, "Hey, Kara, where's all our money?" I got a little angry and replied that there was no more money, to which Troy said that I should get a second job. That's when I got really angry and told him that he should also think about finding a job. He didn't answer and left. I was so furious with him, but after a while, I calmed down and decided that maybe my boyfriend was right. I decided to forgive him and give him a second chance. One time, I had to go to another state for work. I spent the whole day running errands for the company. I came back to the hotel in that evening. My bed was calling me. I was resting after a hard day and decided to play Among Us. Of course, Troy was there. I was happy to see my boyfriend, and we decided to play together. I was in charge of the crew and helped to search for the traitor on the ship. As usual, Troy and I were working together. I was glad to feel that he was close to me, at least like that. But suddenly, someone committed a crime on the ship, and everyone began to discuss who it could be. I knew my boyfriend would figure it out quickly, but all of a sudden, he started talking all the players into voting against me. What was going on? I hadn't expected such attitude from him. He was so eloquent that everyone in the team voted against me, and I was thrown into space. I was shocked. Troy had known I wasn't a traitor, and he had done it on purpose. But why? After becoming a ghost, I kept watching the game and saw my boyfriend flirting with some player with the Beverly 210 nickname. That was just way too much. When I got home the following day, I immediately gave him a serious talk. "What does it all mean?" I shouted. "Did you tell everyone to vote against me on purpose?" I couldn't calm down and told him everything I had been thinking about. Troy listened to me and replied indifferently. "Well then, it's all over between us. I'm breaking up with you." He packed his things and left. I watched him go and couldn't believe it was happening. I cried all through the night, but by morning, I was feeling better again. I thought I had been wrong to treat my boyfriend like that. He had probably been right, and I should have reacted more calmly. A week later, I realized that I couldn't bear it anymore and decided to find Troy. I knew he had nowhere else to go and went back to his parents. After digging through social media, I found their address and went after Troy. My boyfriend's father opened the door for me. I asked if I could see Troy, but he said harshly that my boyfriend wasn't there and that it would be better if he didn't show up. I got angry and told him not to treat his son like that Troy was good and didn't deserve such parents. But his father suddenly chuckled and invited me in. In the house, he treated me to tea and said, "Girl, it seems to me that you don't know my son all that well. Let me tell you something." And he told me the truth about Troy. It turned out that he had been a slacker since childhood. No matter how much his parents had tried to persuade him to take up studying or working, he'd only ever thrown tantrums and accused them of not loving him enough. They had been working for Troy their whole lives, giving him everything he wanted. But when they realized it was hopeless, they stopped spoiling him and indulging all of his whims. That's when Troy had started to steal money from his own parents. And when he had been caught, he'd run away from home. I listened to my boyfriend's dad and couldn't believe it. Everything fell into place, and I finally understood why Troy was like that. Troy had no friends at all. He had ruined his relationships with everyone and owed everyone money. Only then did I realize what he was really like. I felt hurt that Troy had just been using me. I was walking down the street and crying. How could I have been so naive? I felt sorry for myself and very angry with Troy. I hated him, couldn't forgive him. But where had he gone off to? That's when I remembered the player Beverly 210, whom he'd been sweet-talking during the game. At home, I went to their profile and saw a link to their Facebook page. The player turned out to be a pretty girl called Trish. I found her phone number and called her. She picked up the phone. "Hi, do you happen to know a guy called Troy?" Trish answered, surprised. "Yes, he is my boyfriend and we live together. Why do you ask?" So that's where my ex-boyfriend had run off to. He was going to fool another naive girl. I couldn't let him do that. I told Trish everything I knew about Troy, that he was a liar and he was simply deceiving her, just as he had deceived me. But the girl suddenly replied, irritated, "You're just jealous because he left you. Troy is good. Don't call me again." Trish hung up, and I realized that he had already got her to trust him. It was useless to argue. So, I decided to let Trish deal with the problem on her own. I must admit that I was so tired that week that I decided to just put everything out of my mind and take a break, and then get on with my life. I began to enjoy life again. I went shopping, made new friends, and finally went to a gym. I'd completely forgotten all about my ex, when one day, Trish called me. She was crying and told me I'd been right. Troy was just like I told her. He was demanding money from her and throwing tantrums. She wanted to get back at him, but didn't know how to. I felt sorry for the naive girl and offered to help. A couple of days after that, Troy left for Seattle for a gaming tournament. Trish and I signed up to participate online as well. And since there were not all that many participants, Troy was on the same team as us. That's where we got our revenge. We completely thrashed him. We also wrote to the chat everyone was in what Troy was really like, how he deceived people and ruined their lives. By the way, several million people were watching the tournament, and they all found out the truth about Troy. When he returned, he found his stuff under Trish's window. She didn't let him back in. That's when he came to me and said, "Kara, I'm not mad at you. Let's start all over again." I didn't say anything and just closed the door in front of his face. I no longer felt anything for that man and could not forgive him. I hadn't seen or heard anything from Troy since. Perhaps he returned to his parents. Or maybe he rethought his life choices and decided to become a better person. Although, that's a bit hard to believe. What do you think? Can a person change for the better? Write in the comments below. Should I believe in people?